Ever get that feeling, when you land on a tech company's website and it's like, well, it's like they're speaking a whole other language.
Yeah,
It can be a lot, right?
it really can.
That's kind of where we're at today with DXC Technology.
Hmm.
You sent this over, and I gotta say, my first reaction was, whoa, information overload.
Yeah.
But there's some really interesting stuff in here, so let's try to untangle it together.
Okay.
We're talking about a global company, like massive scale, over 125,000 employees. They're in over 70 countries.
Wow.
And they basically help other businesses navigate this whole crazy world of technology, which, let's face it, is constantly changing.
Right, right. And that's where they come in.
Exactly. And they're not working with just anyone either. We're talking big names like Jollibee Foods.
The fast food.
Yeah, the fast food giant.
Well-
And then you've got Vodafone Germany, which is, major telecom player.
Huge. Yeah.
So they're clearly doing something right.
It's fascinating how they're kind of like this behind the scenes force, making sure that everything runs smoothly for these big companies in a world that's so reliant on technology. I mean, it's everything for businesses these days.
Absolutely.
And they're deeply embedded in cybersecurity, which, let's be honest, that's critical for everyone, not just these big companies.
Sure.
But it's not just that. I mean, they're involved in everything from cloud infrastructure and AI
Right. I saw that.
to some like really specific areas like insurance software and banking BPS, which if you're like me, you're like, what is BPS?
Yeah, I had to look that one up.
It stands for Banking Business Process Services. Basically, they handle all the complicated stuff behind the scenes for banks.
It's a lot. It's like they're offering this a whole buffet of tech services.
It is. It's very comprehensive.
So we've established they're working with big names, they're doing a whole range of stuff, but what does that actually look like in practice? What are they like doing day to day?
Okay, well, take their work with Vodafone Germany, for example. They helped them totally revamp their customer service using cloud technology.
Okay.
So imagine, instead of relying on like old hardware and systems, everything is accessible instantly, seamlessly through the cloud. Faster service, personalized support, smoother experience for Vodafone's customers.
So less waiting on hold, more getting things done.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. But it makes you wonder, how do they actually pull off a transition that big for a company the size of Vodafone? That's huge.
It's a massive undertaking, moving all their systems and data to the cloud. But, DXC, they handle everything, contact center software, billing systems, account management, you name it.
Yeah.
It really shows you what they're capable of managing these really complex projects for companies going through these major digital transformations. And speaking of complex, another project that caught my eye was their work with Ocean Network Express, which is like a global shipping giant, right?
Okay.
And they used cloud-based solutions from SAP and Google
Oh, wow.
to basically manage their operations more efficiently.
Okay, so I'm sensing a bit of a theme here. DXC swooping in, streamlining operations, making things more efficient. And it seems like it all revolves around this cloud-based solution.
Yeah.
But for those of us who aren't like tech wizards, why is that such a big deal? Break it down for me.
Think about it. When you're talking about a global shipping company, you're talking about tracking cargo, managing routes, dealing with customs in like a million different countries. That's a crazy amount of data and coordination.
Mind-boggling.
Right. And DXC helps them wrangle all that data, make faster decisions, make smarter decisions. Ultimately, it's about making their whole operation more efficient.
So they're like the architects of efficiency.
Yeah. They bring together different technologies. They partner with other companies, in this case, SAP and Google, to solve real-world problems.
That's pretty impressive. And it's not just about the tech itself. They have whole sections on their website about their values, partnerships, even their commitment to ESG, which is
environmental, social, and governance.
Exactly.
And that's where we have to be careful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone wants to talk a good game these days.
Yeah. Is it just corporate PR?
Right. But they do highlight some interesting things. For example, their partnership with the Dandelion program, which focuses on bringing neurodivergent individuals into the tech workforce.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
And they've also made some pretty significant commitments to reducing their environmental footprint.
Oh.
So, they seem to be, at least from what we can see, trying to walk the walk.
Good for them. Okay, but speaking of partnerships, the one that really jumped out at me
Yeah.
was their collaboration with Manchester United. Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, it seems a little out of left field for a tech company. Like, what's the connection there?
It's definitely an interesting choice. It's not immediately obvious. But it seems like they're trying to tap into that global reach of a major sports team.
Well,
raise their profile a bit.
brand awareness. Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe they're also exploring that growing intersection of sports and technology. I mean, think about it. Sports increasingly rely on technology
Oh, absolutely.
for fan engagement, for performance analysis, all that stuff.
So it's not just about selling jerseys.
No, it's about, like you said, exploring how technology is changing the game, literally.
Right, right. It's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this company clearly very tech-focused, very forward-thinking, but expert speaker, they're also massive. Like, we're talking 70 countries, 125,000 employees. It's a huge operation.
They're serving a significant chunk of the Fortune 500. So even if we're not all tech experts, their work, it's got to be impacting our lives in ways that maybe we don't even realize, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're going to get into next. How does DXC's work actually trickle down and impact the average person? Because, I mean, we've talked about cybersecurity. We've touched on the future of healthcare, the transformation of manufacturing.
It's a lot to unpack.
The implications are huge.
All right, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. I'm ready to dive into that impact. Okay, so we've gone from I'm not gonna lie, being a little intimidated by all the tech jargon to realizing that DXC is this silent force impacting businesses all over the world.
They're everywhere.
But expert speaker, bring it back down to earth for us. Why should we care? How does any of this actually affect our day-to-day lives?
You're right. It's easy to get lost in the cloud infrastructure and digital transformations and all that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, DXC's work, it really does have this ripple effect.
Okay, I'm listening. Give us some examples. Make it real.
Okay, well, let's start with something that affects everyone in this day and age, cybersecurity.
Right. Everyone's talking about that these days.
It's huge. And we saw on their website, they're really big on this stuff. Cyber risk and compliance, digital identity, even something called infrastructure, app and data protection,
It sounds intense, like they're building digital fortresses or something.
basically.
Okay, but honestly, that's a little over my head. Why should I care about infrastructure, app, and data protection?
Think about it this way. Every time you log into your bank account online, every time you buy something on Amazon, even when you're just scrolling through Instagram.
You're trusting them with your information.
Exactly. You're trusting these companies with your data, your personal information. And DXC is in the business of securing that data, protecting those systems from hackers, making sure those everyday transactions we all take for granted actually happen safely. They're like the digital bodyguards for our online lives.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So it's not just about protecting these big corporations, it's about protecting, well, everyone.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just protecting us from hackers and data breaches. Their work has huge implications for the future of industries that affect our lives every day, things like manufacturing and healthcare.
Right, I remember seeing something about that on their site, but those areas are so big, so complex. I mean, how does DXC even wrap their heads around it, let alone actually do anything?
Well, it's about using the power of technology to make those industries smarter, more efficient, more responsive to our needs. Take manufacturing, for example. DXC is all about manufacturing in a software-defined and platform-driven world.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me. That sounds like we're talking about factories run by robots.
You're not wrong. Imagine factories where machines can actually predict when they need maintenance, so there's no downtime, no delays. Or factories where data analysis helps them optimize the production line, so they're making things as efficiently as possible. DXC is helping make that a reality.
So they're not just talking about the future of manufacturing, they're actually building it.
They are. And then there's healthcare, another area ripe for disruption and innovation.
And DXC is right in the thick of it, from what I gather. Didn't they have that case study about Mass Mutual, the insurance giant?
Exactly. And that's a great example of how DXC is helping the healthcare industry modernize. Think about it, a world where your medical records are instantly available to any doctor you see, no matter where they are.
That would be amazing, especially if you're traveling or something.
Right. Or imagine a world where AI helps doctors diagnose diseases with incredible accuracy. Or where personalized medicine tailored to your specific genetic makeup becomes the norm. That's what DXC is working towards. And it's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It's exciting, but also a little intimidating. I mean, that's a lot of change. It really hits home how quickly things are evolving.
It's true. And it all circles back to this idea DXC keeps referring to the digital age. We hear that phrase all the time, but it's not just a buzzword. It's the reality we're living in. Just looking at everything DXC is doing makes it clear how fast technology is evolving and how deeply it's impacting our lives.
Yeah, it's not just some abstract concept anymore. It's It's here.
Yeah.
And DXC is right there with it, showing us what's possible.
And that brings us to an essential question I want us to consider as we move towards the end of our deep dive.
So we started this deep dive, and honestly, I was a little lost. I mean, DXC Technology, it sounded big, it sounded important, but I couldn't really grasp what they did.
It can be a lot to take in, all the different technologies, the industries, the sheer scale of their operations.
Yeah, exactly. But as we've gone through this, it's like zooming out from a map. At first, it's just a bunch of lines and labels, but then you start to see the bigger picture.
And it's quite a picture, isn't it? We've gone from deciphering tech jargon to talking about the future of healthcare, the ethics of AI, the very fabric of our digital world.
It's a lot. And it really hits home how deeply technology is intertwined with our lives, even if we're not always conscious of it.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to that essential question I raised. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of DXC technology, the thought I want to leave you with is this. What aspects of your life are being most affected by this digital shift?
It's a big question, and honestly, it's a little overwhelming. I mean, every day there's something new about AI, about cybersecurity, about some industry being transformed by technology. Sometimes it feels easier to just tune it out.
I get it, it's a lot to process. But that's exactly why we need to engage with it, not shy away from it. Don't just be a passive observer in this digital revolution, be an active participant.
Okay, I'm listening. How do we do that?
Think critically. Ask questions. When you encounter news about these technological advancements, don't just scroll past. Dive in. What role do you see companies like DXC playing in this evolution? Are they making our lives easier, more efficient? Or are there potential downsides, ethical dilemmas we need to be aware of?
You're right. These aren't just abstract questions. They're directly relevant to our lives. It's like you always say, knowledge is most valuable when we apply it to our own experiences.
Precisely. So as you go about your day, encountering these bits and pieces of the digital age, I encourage you to engage with them. Because ultimately, this isn't just about some tech company. It's about shaping the kind of world we want to live in.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Expert speaker, thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating, complex world of DXC technology.
It's been my pleasure, truly.
And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time. Keep those minds curious.